Welcome to Georgia, the southernmost state on the AT. First, let's take a look at the elevation and how it compares to the elevation of the whole trail. Most hikers I knew found the elevation gains and losses in Georgia to be pretty significant. It takes a lot out of people. My recommendation is to work out as much as you can. Walk up and down the stairs if you can't think of anything else to do, but the more you go into it with a level of fitness, the easier it is going to be on you. What is the actual trail itself going to look like? For the most part, it's not too extreme. There are some rocks, there are some roots, but most people don't have too much problems with them. Blood Mountain is definitely a very rocky place. There are some rock slabs where it's not like individual rocks, it's just one sheet of rock. But overall, in Georgia, the terrain isn't too difficult. I think anyway. Next, resupply logistics. The trail goes right next to Mountain Crossings at Neal's Gap, which is a store you can buy outdoor gear in. If something you brought messes up, you can buy a new one there. There's also a place to buy more food. There's a hiker box. If you don't know what that is, if people are getting rid of their food, they put it in the box. If you need some food, you can take it out. They do sell pizza, so that's very exciting. There's also the town of Hiawassee, which isn't too hard to get to. There is a shuttle from the trail to town itself. The trail provides that because they know the hikers are gonna, buy a lot, eat a lot, stay in the hotels. I found out after filming this only happens in March and April. Sorry about that. Overall, it's a pretty easy resupply place. This next little category I'm going to talk about, I'm calling challenges and traditions. Just like milestones of the trail, little fun things. Whether you're starting out or ending your hike at Springer Mountain, I'm sure that's going to be a pretty big milestone for you. If you'd like to get your AT hiker tag, they have that at Amicalola Falls, where you can do a little orientation to the trail. And there is the kind of tradition of those that aren't able to make it past Neal's Gap, tie their shoes and throw them in the tree. But I don't know, if I was you, are you sure you're never gonna hike again in your whole life? Is no one you know that's the same size as shoe gonna hike again ever in your life? Maybe even just donate it, if worse comes to worse. But that is a tradition. The next little category I'm going to talk about is nature notes. What are some cool plant things to look out for? Be sure that if you squat to go to the bathroom and you're reaching up to help pull yourself up and you grab a vine, make sure that vine isn't kind of hairy looking, because that's poison ivy and it is active even when, the leaves aren't there. So heads up for that. Of course, this isn't a hard statistic, but I felt like Georgia had the most poison ivy. Sometimes people ask me for recommendations for section hikes, so if you're trying to section hike in Georgia, I would recommend the southernmost miles of the AT, whether that's starting at Neal's Gap, Springer Mountain, and then Amicalola Falls, or vice versa. I think that part of the trail is just so iconic, and it's meant so much to so many people. That's what I would do. Alright, things to look out for. Well, there is one part of the trail in Georgia where if you're staying overnight, a bear can is required. But it's a pretty short section, so if you just time it out right, then you won't need it. In fact, when I did the trail, I saw the section and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. But it turned out it was a pretty short section, so wasn't that hard to just power through. Although, if you can, just carry a bear canister, you don't have to worry about that. And of course, the terminus logistics. First, I'll talk about if you're starting out. You have two options. You can start at Amicalola State Park. That's where your hiker orientation is. It's definitely set up to help people. If you're taking a shuttle to the trailhead, they'll probably want to drop you off there. It's an 8-mile hike to the actual terminus, Springer Mountain. I didn't do it, but I hear there's a lot of stairs. There is a cool waterfall to look at, but it sounds like it really takes it out of people. So be prepared. Might not be too easy, but you got it. If you'd like to start closer, if you'd like to avoid that, there is the possibility of getting dropped off at the parking lot at Springer Mountain. You go up the mountain for a mile. It's a little rocky, not too difficult. Start the hike, take some pictures, take some deep breaths, and then come back down. Walk through the same parking lot, and then you're on your way. You're on your way to Maine, man! And if you've been hiking southbound and Georgia is your last state, kind of the same thing. I think it would definitely be easier to get picked up from Amicalola Falls, but of course there is that 8 miles. Although probably at that point it won't be anything for you. Another warning, if you're going northbound with the bubble, the big group of people that hike every year, you might be nervous about how crowded is it going to be. In my perspective, it wasn't as crowded as I expected. When I was hiking, I was like, where is everyone? I would pass people maybe once an hour, but for the most part, it was a lot emptier than I pictured. That being said, when I got to my first shelter, I was like, oh, okay, here's all the people. I think maybe 5 times at the beginning of the trail, I was at a shelter with about 30 people. Keep in mind, there's plenty of space for tents, and I mean, for the most part, it's friendly people. It's not like everyone's tossing their trash all over the place. Some people really want to avoid the bubble, and I get that, but at the same time, it's not as bad as I was picturing. And last but not least, something to look forward to. In this section, I'll talk about some freebies you might not know about, cool places to look out for, just fun stuff. Like I mentioned before, there is that free shuttle to Hiawassee, plus there's bear lines in Georgia. So if you are doing a food bag instead of a bear can, instead of, tying it up all proper, there are lines to hang it up on, or bear boxes sometimes, I think. But anyway, you have that to look forward to. One less thing to worry about. And I know that's a lot of information in categories instead of when you're going to run into it. So here's a map with the specific places I talked about. It is all on far out, but for me, it's easy to miss the most important stuff because there's just so much information. So I hope this helps. Whether you're watching this planning to start your hike in Georgia, finish your hike, or just do a section, I am so excited for you all. Thank you for watching this. If there's anything I missed, please put it in the comments. See ya!